I loved this book so much. I am so honored that you asked me to do this event with you. So I'm going to jump right into it. For the people in the audience who don't know much about this book, who are maybe have just picked it up or they're waiting for it to come into their mailbox with great excitement, as I was, could you share a little bit about the story?
Sure. First of all, I wish I could just hug you through my screen right now. It is so nice to see your face. And thank you so much for doing this event with me in the midst of all the things you've got going on right now. It's just
Of
a
course.
joy to be able to discuss anything with you. And you make these launch events so much easier.
Oh,
It's
thank you.
so much easier to chat with a friend. Um, so yeah, this book takes place in 2003. I suppose I should start with that. Um, it follows a young woman, an Iranian American young woman, teenager, who wears hijab. She's Muslim, so I'm doing this out of order. And it's post 9/11. We are a few months out from officially declaring war on Iraq, and it's a really, really turbulent time. This book is kind of a companion, though not in the traditional way. It's kind of a companion to my first work of realistic fiction, A Very Large Expanse of Sea, which took place in 2002. So this takes place a year later. Both books follow Iranian American Muslim teenagers in hijab, but their lives are very different and their emotional arcs are very different. A Very Large Expanse of Sea was about unlearning anger in the pursuit of, kindness to the character, kindness to herself and also to the world around her. And An Emotion of Great Delight is about working your way through the amber of sorrow in an attempt to reclaim joy. So they're two very different stories set in a similarly turbulent times that take very different emotional avenues.
Yeah, I think what I love about both books is that they're so quintessentially you, and yet the voices are so different. And I think that takes incredible skill. So yay, good job. Um, I was gonna ask if anything specific inspired you, but I think I'm gonna make that question a little bit more specific and say, did anything specific inspire that arc that you're talking about, the arc of sort of reclaiming joy?
Um, can you just clarify that one more time? Did the
Sure.
ending?
No. The arc that you have where you're sort of talking, the book is addressing this idea of reclaiming joy.
Yes.
Was that inspired by anything in particular, or is that just what came to you when you started writing?
I think I have often found myself describing the experience of being a marginalized person as if you are experiencing those 5 stages of grief, but
Mhm,
just over and over and over again without ever finding a resolution.
mhm,
That's how it's felt to me. Like, I feel like in my life, I have gone through these many different phases. When you're dealing every single day with external aggressions, micro and macro, and you are made to feel unwanted and ostracized and excluded, and life just feels very painful constantly. You're grieving the loss of an experience you might have had. You're grieving is sort of this existential thing that is happening to you, and so I've often found myself moving through these feelings, right? So like there at various stages in my life I have experienced denial, right?
mhm.
Like, this, well, no, that's not what it was, that wasn't what they were saying, that's not what they meant, that's not how that happened. Or you just choose not to see it. And then you experience bargaining, like, oh well, maybe if I act like this, then maybe it'll be like this, and maybe if I did it like this, then maybe the response would be different. And and then anger. I
I know that
experienced,
one well.
right? I lived in anger for a very, very long time. That stuck around for a long time for me. And, and one of the most crucial stages of this experience is depression, right? Sadness.
Mhm.
Well, here I'm talking specifically about like that, the, the extreme sorrow, the
Mhm.
depression, the sadness, the grief, that just like that pure pain that you
Mhm.
get to. And I knew um, that. So I struggled to talk about this book without also talking about A Very Large Expansive Sea, because I knew that when I wrote A Very Large Expansive Sea, I wanted to talk about anger.
Mhm.
That was the emotion that I wanted to follow in that story. And then in this book, I wanted to talk about sorrow. And
Mm.
with each of these books, there had to be a resolution, right? And
Right.
I mean, not a perfect one. There is no perfect resolution.
Yeah, that's not
Um,
real. Mhm.
but like I needed Shadi to get to a place where she felt like Shadi, the main character of An Emotion of Great Delight, I needed to get her to a place where she felt like she had hope.
Mhm.
That was the point of the story for me, to feel like there was hope for her in her life. And when approaching these various points of pain she was experiencing, I wanted her to be able to have the tools to access that hope that would get her to a place to reclaim joy. So yes,
Yeah,
it was an active choice for me when approaching
I
this
see.
story.
Okay. Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, I think that, I mean, I love that you stuck to keeping it realistic, and that, your goal was not like, oh, happily ever after, or something that just isn't real for so many people, right?
Yeah.
But something that allows you to kind of imagine the future for Shadi. Like I really love that. So I'm gonna kind of switch topics a little bit and talk about friendships in the book. So I have always found that the most difficult breakups in my life are actually friend breakups, right? Like those are the ones I obsess over and think about. And you do a beautiful job of portraying that in the relationship between Shadi and her best friend Zara. Can you talk a little bit maybe about what it was like to write that relationship? Like at any point, did you want to reach into the book and be like, Zara, like, why are you this way? Because I definitely did. I was like, you're the worst, but I know that you're in pain, but you're still the worst.
Yeah, gosh, I could not possibly agree with you more. I have never, I have never had my heart broken by a man, but I have had my heart broken by women
Yep.
many, many times. Which is not to say that I haven't had amazing female friendships too, but man, nothing hurts quite like a broken friendship.
Yep.
Um,
I agree.
it's tough. It's really tough. Clearly I have experience with this, and I definitely modeled a lot of what you see in the story after some experiences I had myself, and it's tough. It's really tough. It's tough to even access those things for the story. You have to do some surgery on yourself to even access
Right? It's like
memories and those
digging or
emotions.
yeah, it's that like digging or almost like self-therapy. And
Yeah.
and I felt that really deeply because and you feel it through Shadi because she questions herself and she sort of asks herself like kind of what did I do wrong? And it's like it hurts to read it because it's so real, and I think so many of us have gone through that. So I thought that was incredible.